There are moments in life when it feels like heaven has gone on mute. You pray and nothing stirs. You cry and nothing shifts. You worship with hands lifted high, but all you hear is the sound of your own breathing. You start asking questions like, God, where are you? And have you forgotten about me? But let me tell you today with fire in my bones, asterisk asterisk, God's silence is not God's absence, asterisk asterisk. God is not like man. He doesn't speak just to fill the air. He doesn't talk just to comfort your emotions. When God goes silent, it's not because he's not moving. It's because he's moving in a way you can't see. Silence is sometimes the clearest sign that something divine is taking shape behind the curtain. It is in the silence that God often does his greatest work. Think about a seed buried in soil. Once it's planted, it disappears from view. The gardener doesn't check on it every 5 minutes because what's happening under the ground is invisible, but it's essential. The silence above doesn't mean nothing's happening below. That's how God works. You may not hear him, but he's rooting you. He's anchoring you. He's forming you for what's coming next. You thought the silence meant he left you, but the truth is, he's working on your foundation. Sometimes God goes silent not because he's far away, but because he's close, so close you can't even distinguish his presence. When you were a child, your parents didn't always speak when you walked into a room, but that didn't mean they weren't there. Their presence didn't always need volume. God's presence doesn't always require noise. Some of you are looking for God in the thunder, but he's whispering in the stillness. You're waiting for the shout, but he's shaping you in the silence. It's in those silent seasons that you learn to trust him without the props, without the goosebumps, without the signs and wonders, when all you have is your faith, when there's no confirmation and no explanation. That's when your roots grow deep. That's when your praise becomes pure. That's when your relationship with God shifts from convenience to covenant. Don't confuse his stillness with neglect. The teacher is always silent during the test. And maybe, just maybe, you're in a season of testing not to break you, but to build you, to stretch your faith, to enlarge your capacity, to deepen your dependence. God's silence is strategic, it's sacred, and when he finally breaks it, what comes next will explain why you had to wait. So don't give up. Don't walk away. Don't misinterpret the quiet. He's still here. He's still working. And when the time is right, he will speak. And when he speaks, everything will change. Between your prayer and your promise, there is often a pause. And in that pause, heaven may feel like it's gone silent. You wonder if God forgot, if the plan changed, if somehow your name slipped off his list. But what if the pause isn't punishment? What if the silence isn't a sign of distance, but of destiny unfolding? What if God is getting ready to do something so profound in your life that he has to clear the noise before he reveals the glory? There was a time 400 years long when heaven said nothing. No prophets, no angels, no fresh word. The people waited, wondering if the story was over. But what they didn't know was that the author was simply turning the page. And when God finally spoke, he didn't just send a message. He sent the Messiah. Because when God breaks the silence, he doesn't whisper. He roars. He doesn't come with hints. He comes with heaven-shaking power. What breaks the silence is never ordinary, it's extraordinary. That's why the waiting is so heavy. That's why the silence feels like it presses on your chest. Because what's coming on the other side of that quiet season is too great to be rushed. It's too weighty to be delivered without preparation. God doesn't speak casually over greatness. He speaks intentionally into destiny. And sometimes that destiny requires a divine delay, so your character can catch up with your calling. Some of you have been questioning the silence, but you don't realize that the silence is the wrapping paper around a blessing that's about to unfold. You've been crying out for a word, but God is preparing you for the asterisk word that will change the whole direction of your life. What's taking time isn't his ability. It's the size of what he's preparing. He breaks the silence when your ears are ready, when your heart can carry it, when your maturity can handle what he's about to say. Because God doesn't waste words. He speaks when the soil of your spirit is tilled, when the ground is soft enough for the seed to take root. So don't despise the pause. Don't curse the quiet. That lull you're feeling is the deep breath before the shout. That silence is the moment before the door flings open. That stillness, it's the stage being set for divine interruption. God is not stalled. He is setting up the scene. And when he steps in, when he breaks that silence, chains will break, truth will thunder, and what felt like delay will be revealed as divine design. You've been waiting, but what you're waiting for is worth it. The silence will not last forever. God is about to speak, and when he does, everything that's been on hold will begin to move. So hold on, lean in, get ready, because when he breaks the silence, he brings the kind of glory that eyes have not seen and ears have not heard. There comes a time when God removes the noise not to confuse you, but to clarify you. You see, we live in a world that's constantly buzzing. Everybody's talking, everybody's posting, everybody's got something to say. But in all that sound, how do you know what's truth and what's noise? How do you discern what's divine and what's just distraction? That's why God will sometimes shut it all down. He'll pull you back, quiet the crowd, shut the mouths of your critics, and silence even your own anxious thoughts, so that you can finally hear him, not the version of him you shaped in your imagination, not the voice of your fears or your feelings, but the real voice of God that can only be heard in the stillness. That's why some of you have felt disconnected, not because something's wrong with you, but because God is pulling you out of the chaos to tune your ears to his frequency. You've been frustrated, thinking God is ignoring you, but he's really inviting you to lean in closer. He's not being cruel. He's being careful with your future, because he knows that if you can't distinguish his voice from the crowd, you'll end up following people instead of purpose. You'll confuse applause with affirmation, and you'll settle for what's popular instead of what's powerful. You don't need another opinion. You need revelation. You don't need another update. You need a word, And God's word isn't always loud. Sometimes it comes in a whisper, like it did for Elijah on the mountain. The wind came, the fire came, the earthquake came, but God wasn't in the noise. He was in the still, small voice. See, the power of God's voice isn't in its volume, it's in its authority. When he speaks, things move. When he speaks, demons tremble. When he speaks, destinies shift. But if you're too distracted by noise, you'll miss the direction. You'll miss the clarity. You'll miss the calm that comes when you finally learn how to listen, not just with your ears, but with your spirit. Some of you have been praying for an answer, and God has already spoken. It's just that you couldn't hear him over the clutter in your mind. So he let the silence come. He let the phone calls stop. He let the doors close. He let the crowd walk away. Not to isolate you, but to insulate you. To wrap you in enough quiet so you could finally hear what he's been saying all along. God's silence isn't rejection, it's redirection. It's his way of separating his voice from every other sound that's been competing for your attention. He's not just trying to speak to your situation, he's trying to teach you how to recognize him in asterisk the silence. Because once you learn to hear God in the quiet, nothing in the noise will ever shake you again. There's a reason why your life feels hidden right now. A reason why it seems like nobody sees you, nobody calls your name, and heaven has pressed the mute button. But I came to tell you, you are not buried. You are asterisk planted asterisk. And there's a difference. When something is buried, it's meant to stay dead. But when something is planted, it's meant to asterisk grow asterisk. When God allows you to be put in the dark, covered up and pressed down, it's not to destroy you, it's to develop you. The dirt you feel covering your dreams, your purpose, your potential, isn't your grave. It's your asterisk greenhouse asterisk. See, growth doesn't happen in the spotlight. It happens in the secret place, the deep place, the hidden place. Everybody wants the fruit, but nobody wants the dirt. Nobody wants to be unseen, unnoticed, uncelebrated. But before God brings you to the platform, he'll test you in the shadows. He'll let you sit in seasons where you feel overlooked, not because he forgot about you, but because he's preparing something in you that can't be rushed. And let me tell you, what's happening underground is just as important, if not more, than what people will eventually see above the surface. Before a tree bears fruit, it has to grow roots, deep roots, strong roots, quiet roots, and that's what God is doing in your life right now. He's anchoring you so that when the winds of life blow, and they will asterisk blow, you won't be moved. You'll be grounded in purpose, secure in calling, unshakable in faith. Don't mistake delay for denial. Don't confuse silence with sabotage. The reason it hasn't happened yet is because God is letting your roots go deep enough to sustain the weight of what he's about to release in your life. He knows the blessing you've been asking for would crush you if you weren't rooted right. So he's hiding you, holding you, stretching you so that when you come forth, you'll come forth with strength. You see, when a seed is planted, it dies to what it was, so it can become what it was always meant to be. Some of you are mourning what you lost, but what you lost was never meant to last. God had to bury that version of you so he could raise up a stronger, wiser, bolder you. The old you couldn't handle what's coming, but the planted you. Oh, the planted you is going to flourish. And when the time is right, when the soil has done its work, when the roots have run deep enough, the same God who allowed the planting will call for the rising. And you will come forth not as the same person who went into the dirt, but as something transformed, something unstoppable, something asterisk anointed asterisk. You are not buried, you are planted, and your breakthrough is getting ready to break the ground. You've been sitting in a waiting room called Not Yet, and it feels like nothing is moving. You've prayed, fasted, cried, obeyed, and still the door hasn't opened. The breakthrough hasn't come. The healing hasn't manifested. The opportunity hasn't arrived. But let me tell you something deep in my spirit. Asterisk, the silence before the shift is not the end of your story. It's the setup for your suddenly. Asterisk asterisk, there's a kind of quiet that falls before greatest moments in your life, a hush before the heavens erupt, a stillness before destiny collides with time. And just because it looks like nothing is happening doesn't mean God isn't orchestrating everything behind the scenes. Oh, He's working, He's aligning, He's assigning angels. He's stirring the hearts of people you've never met to bless you in ways you never imagined. But here's the thing. Asterisk, God moves in suddenly moments, asterisk. Acts chapter 2 says, "And suddenly there came a sound from heaven like a rushing mighty wind." They had been waiting in the upper room. Waiting through fear, waiting through silence, waiting through uncertainty, but when heaven was ready, asterisk, suddenly asterisk came. And when suddenly shows up, everything changes in a moment. You see, God doesn't need a long time to turn things around. He just needs asterisk the right time. Asterisk, and you don't always get a warning when the right time arrives. That's why you've got to be faithful in the waiting. Keep praying in the quiet. Keep worshiping in the stillness. Keep sowing even when you haven't seen the harvest, because your suddenly is coming. When God breaks the silence, it won't be gradual, it'll be asterisk radical. Asterisk, it won't trickle in, it'll pour out. It won't be a soft whisper, it'll be a roaring wave that drowns out every doubt, every delay, every disappointment. Your suddenly will not just bless you, it will shock everything around you. People who thought you were finished will have to watch you flourish. The ones who walked away will have to witness your elevation, because when God moves, He moves in a way that asterisk no one asterisk can deny. And the reason He let it be silent so long is because He wanted you to asterisk no asterisk it was Him. When it happens suddenly, you won't be able to credit your hustle, your education, or your connections. You'll have no choice but to say, asterisk, this was the Lord's doing, and it is marvelous in our eyes. Asterisk, so if you've been waiting, weary from the silence, hold on just a little longer. Heaven has a timeline that doesn't match your clock, but when the hour strikes in the Spirit, suddenly will come. And what took years of pain, tears, and faith will flip in one divine moment. You may not hear it yet, but it's coming. The silence is trembling, the atmosphere is shifting. God is getting ready to break through, not slowly, but asterisk suddenly. Asterisk waiting is one of the hardest things you will ever do. It tests your patience, it tries your faith, and it challenges your hope. But here is the truth you need to hear today. Asterisk asterisk waiting well is just as important as receiving well. Asterisk asterisk, how you handle the silence determines how you will handle the sound when God finally speaks. You see, some people get stuck in the waiting room. They grow bitter, frustrated, angry, and impatient. They start questioning God's love, God's timing, and God's power. But others, they choose a different path. They choose to worship in the waiting. They choose to pray through the pause. They choose to trust when everything inside them wants to doubt. And those are the ones who are ready when God breaks the silence. The waiting season is a school for your spirit. It is where you learn to cultivate faith that doesn't depend on your circumstances. It is where your worship becomes less about what God can do and more about who God is. It's where you discover that your hope is not in the outcome, but in the God who controls the outcome. When God breaks the silence, He's not just giving you answers, He's giving you a testimony. He's not just changing your situation, He's changing your story. And that testimony, that story, will be a light to others who are still waiting. Your breakthrough is not just for you. It's for every person who has ever felt forgotten, overlooked, or abandoned. So wait well. Don't waste your waiting by complaining or quitting. Fill your waiting with worship. Fill your waiting with praise. Fill your waiting with the Word of God. Prepare your heart so that when God speaks, you recognize His voice immediately. Prepare your soul so that when the silence breaks, your faith is already strong enough to stand in the new season. Remember, the silence is not empty. It is full of purpose. It is full of preparation. It is full of God's presence, even when you can't feel it. And when God finally speaks, when He breaks that silence, the blessing will overflow. The joy will flood in. The peace will surround you, and you will know without a doubt that the waiting was worth it. So don't give up now. Don't lose heart. Keep your eyes on the promise, your hands lifted in praise, and your feet steady on the path of faith. Because God is about to speak, and when He does, everything will change. Your season of silence will become your season of sound. Your season of waiting will become your season of worship, and your story will become a testimony that will inspire generations to come. Wait well, the best is yet to come.